पटनायक सर का ऑडियो चेक कर लीजिए.
So I'm going to start.
Now?
Yes sir, yes sir.
Okay then.
Sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
Sir,
I'm
good
going to
evening,
start.
sir,
Very
and
good
welcome.
evening. Very good evening. On the behalf of Alkem
We are
Diabetology.
little late, but I think everything will be fine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So on the behalf of Alkem Diabetology, I, Sanjeev Kumar Patel, welcome our eminent speaker, panelists, and all doctors who have joined us for today's webinar on evolving evidence with evogliptin. Sir, as you know, the first time in India, the Alkem launched patented product evogliptin. It is a Korean molecule, and Alkem has exclusive patent right for the next 5 years. In India, since last 1 year, Alkem has promoted Valera in India and getting very encouraging response from your side, sir. Now we are going to launch the evogliptin and metformin 1 gram in sustained release form. Sir, I will not say the scientific part of evogliptin and metformin. It is not my domain, sir. We have set up the expert of 4 doctors who will share their view on the same and engage in the question and answer session post completion of all the sessions. For this, to help us navigate through the meeting, we have with us today Dr. S.R. Patnaik, sir, who will be our moderator for today's webinar. I take this opportunity to welcome Dr. S.R. Patnaik, sir. Sir is not required any introduction. I can say Sir ka naam hi kafi hai. He is the senior consultant endocrinologist, associate professor, and HOD of endocrinology, MKCG Medical College, Behrampur. He is actively involved in research and has completed numerous clinical trials over the years. He has also several publications, peer-reviewed journals, and has presented his paper at medical conferences and professional meets. Sir is a speaker at many regional, national, and international diabetes, thyroid, and endocrine conferences. With this, I would now invite Dr. S.R. Patnaik, sir, to shed the context of this webinar and introduce our panel for this webinar. So over to you, sir.
Thanks for the nice words. Now, we have 3 distinguished speakers today, panelists. Amongst them, Professor Raut Rai. He does not require any introduction. He is a very famous cardiologist in the state and heads the prestigious postgraduate department of cardiology at SCB Medical College, Cuttack. And he is a very eminent speaker, and he has very much interest in diabetes also as well. Along with him, we have 2 very young and active endocrinologists from Bhubaneswar, Dr. Devarchand Jena and Dr. Subhas. Both of them are very keen in the subject and are very up to date. Now, let me invite Dr. Jena proceeding with his evogliptin. We'll come to the discussion part later on. Dr. Jena, please.
Respected Patnaik sir, Satya sir, my seniors and other friends. My topic is evolving evidence with evogliptin and evogliptin plus metformin. So, coming to,
if you want, can I shift the slides? You can say next.
Yeah, that will be better. So about gliptins, they are incretin enhancers. They are the inhibitor of DPP4 enzymes, whereby they increase the incretin GLP-1, and by increasing the GLP-1 hormone, there will be increase in the insulin secretion from pancreatic beta cell, so that there will be glycemic control. Also, they have another function, like they suppress the alpha cell function, thereby decreasing the glucagon release, and so also decreasing the process of neoglucogenesis and controlling the fasting plasma glucose. So both fasting and PP control is the function of gliptins. So when we consider in prescribing any drug in diabetes, before that we consider the efficacy, the safety, and the cost of that molecule. So when we consider the efficacy of gliptins in particular, so when they are when they are compared with sulfonylureas, there is comparable effect of gliptins. Also, these in real life and in Indian patients, particularly in Asian context, their action is seen as very good. Gliptins act as good anti-hyperglycemic agents. Also, when used as a baseline dependent HbA1c for purpose of if you start a gliptin from the very beginning, and when you compare with sulfonylurea plus metformin and a sitagliptin, for example, of a gliptin with metformin, there is better HbA1c reduction with gliptins. Also, it works in all stages of diabetes, starting from early, late, with all drugs and with insulin also. They have better action with all types of anti-hyperglycemic drugs. Also, when we consider with regard to safety and like hypoglycemia, uh, they have lesser chance of hypoglycemia, and also they are weight neutral, equivalent to placebo. Also, they have a beautiful function. They preserve the beta cell for a long time. That's why helping in diabetes control for a long time. Next. So about evolving gliptin, that is evogliptin. It is a PPRase gene derivative. It is a selective, potent, and a reversible inhibitor of a DP4 enzyme. It extensively studied in vitro and in vivo animal models for its efficacy and safety. Evogliptin has been studied in RCTs, 2 phase 3 studies in South Korean patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus. This drug has low potential for interaction with other co-administered drugs. So this molecule has approved in South Korea in October 2015 and also in Azerbaijan as monotherapy and in combination with metformin. Recently, it has got approval in Russia also in 2019 and in Bolivia. Also in India, it has been approved by DCGI to manufacture and market the drug in August 2018. So the indication of this molecule is for treatment of type 2 diabetes mellitus as an adjunct to diet and exercise to improve glycemic control when used as monotherapy or in combination with metformin. The dosage is 5 mg once daily. Next. So whether all DP4 inhibitors are same. The DP4 enzyme has actually 5 binding sites. The DP4 inhibitor, they bind generally with the S1 and S2 site. Also, this is fundamental for functioning of a DP4 inhibitor. But the molecules which bind additionally to sites like S1 dash, S2 dash, or S2 extensive produce more inhibition of DPP4. Next. Next. So about the class 1 type of DP4 inhibitor, they are vildagliptin and saxagliptin. They bind to the S1 and the S2 site of the enzyme. Next. The class 2 type like allogliptin, and linagliptin, they bind with S1 S2 along with S1 dash and S2 dash site of the enzyme. Next, the class 3 type, they include sitagliptin, teneligliptin and the evogliptin. They bind with S1 S2 along with S2 extensive. Also, they have a non-covalent binding. They have 6,000 times higher selectivity compared to human DPP8 and DPP9 binding. There are other enzymes, and sometimes these DPP4 inhibitors, they bind to the DPP8 or DPP9, giving rise to some side effect. Also, these three molecules, they have 20,000, particularly evogliptin has 20,000 times greater selectivity compared to human DPP1 and 4 enzyme. Next. So the off-target inhibition of DPP8 and DPP9 is associated with some abnormal responses such as skin reaction, immunologic disorders, delayed healing of scars, etc. But evogliptin minimizes the concern about off-target inhibition caused by binding of these off-targets. Considering the IC50 of DPP4 inhibitors, evogliptin has a concentration of 0.98 nanomole. At this level of 0.98 nanomole, it has maximum inhibition of DPP4 enzymes. Also, as I have mentioned, it is a selective DPP4 inhibitor having more than 6,000 times selectivity over DPP4-8 and more than 6,000 times selectivity over DPP4-9. Next. So about the pharmacokinetics, the absolute bioavailability of evogliptin was nearly 50%. Evogliptin reaches its plasma concentration peak at 3 to 5.5 hours following a single oral dose. It rapidly surpasses 80% level in less than an hour after administration. The terminal elimination half-life of evogliptin was 32.5 to 39.8 hours. It has a long half-life, so it can be given once daily comfortably. The pharmacokinetics of evogliptin are unchanged by food. Evogliptin reaches a steady state concentration within 3 days of its administration and accumulated only a small amount, an accumulation index of 1.38 to 1.5. So, according to different in vitro studies, it is not an inducer of cytochrome 3A4 and nor an inhibitor of other enzymes, although its metabolism is primarily mediated by this cytochrome 3A4. The renal clearance and fraction excreted unchanged in urine of evogliptin. Only 27% to 34% is excreted through renally. No dose adjustment was required because urinary excretion is not the major pathway for the elimination of evogliptin. Next. So it has some favorable pharmacokinetics. It has a long half-life, so daily dosing is possible. So it has both a hepatic and some extent, to a lesser extent, have renal excretion, so can be safely given in renally compromised patient. When we consider half-life of vildagliptin, other gliptins, Vilda has a half-life of 1.5 to 4.5 hours and can be prescribed in BD dose. So also other gliptins, they have mainly vildagliptin, sitagliptin, saxa and alogliptin. They have renal excretion. So you have to be cautious, or you have to go for dose modification when you give those molecules. And Lina has a biliary excretion, so it is a competitor of this evogliptin. Next. So about the pharmacodynamics, it increases the postprandial GLP-1 level by 1.5 to 2.4 fold. It decreases the postprandial glucose level by 20 to 35%. The DP4 inhibition increase in a dose-dependent manner and they remain more than 80% over 24 hours. Next. So there are different clinical studies to establish the safety, efficacy, taking monotherapy and combination therapy, and different comparability study with other disorders, and some observation study, and some comparison study with some biosimilar products have been carried out since 2009. Some studies are in stage 3, some have gone up to stage 4. So we'll discuss in next slides. Next. So some studies, they have tried to see the efficacy and safety of evogliptin monotherapy in patient with type 2 diabetes mellitus and moderately elevated glycated hemoglobin level after diet and exercise. This study was done in South Korea, taking 160 number of patients. They have compared evogliptin versus placebo. Also in another study, they have tried to see the efficacy and safety of adding evogliptin versus sitagliptin for metformin 1000 milligram treated subject. It was a 24-week randomized control trial study, open label study, extended for 52 weeks. Also in another study, they have tried to see the efficacy and safety of evogliptin versus sitagliptin as an add-on therapy in Indian patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus. Those who are inadequately controlled with metformin. It was a 24-week randomized double-blind non-inferiority study. The study was named as Evolution India study. They have taken 184 patients. Patients were on more than 1000 milligram of metformin. Another study was a RCT. It is in phase 3 clinical trial to investigate the efficacy and safety of evogliptin when added to ongoing metformin monotherapy in patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus who have inadequate glycemic control. This was conducted in Russia and South Korea, and also the patient were on metformin 1000 milligram or more. Also another study has done to see the efficacy and safety of evogliptin in Brazil type 2 diabetes patient. It is a bridging study taking around 146 patients. Next. So a phase 3 study has been published in Diabetes, Obesity and Metabolism journal. It has the aim to see the efficacy and the safety of evogliptin monotherapy in patients with type 2 diabetes and moderately elevated glycated hemoglobin level after diet and exercise. They have assigned to either evogliptin or placebo for 24 weeks. Next. So in this study, they have found that the mean HbA1c significantly decreased from 7.2% at baseline to 6.97% in the evogliptin group. The mean HbA1c level increased in placebo group, but modestly. The mean change in HbA1c was significantly greater in the evogliptin group than in the placebo group. Yeah, it was clinically significant. and evagliflozin 5 milligram monotherapy significantly decreased the HbA1c and was well tolerated in patient with type 2 diabetes mellitus, inadequately controlled on a diet and exercise. Next. So another study, the Evergreen study, the objective was to evaluate the efficacy and safety of evagliflozin versus linagliptin in drug-naive type 2 diabetes patient with inadequate control by lifestyle modification. The aim was to confirm the influence of evagliflozin on the glycemic variability by measuring continuous blood glucose level. So they have first single blinded, then double blinded, taking evagliflozin 5 milligram and to second group linagliptin 5 milligram. Nearly 100 patients they have given both molecules. So they have monitored with continuous glucose monitoring system, and in the open label, which was around 12 to 24 weeks, only evagliflozin was given, and again it was monitored by continuous glucose monitoring. Next. So at week 12, after 3 months of the study, when we compare linagliptin and evagliflozin, evagliflozin has a HbA1c level. They decrease the HbA1c by 0.85. When we compared linagliptin, it was a lesser decrease in HbA1c. It was 0.75. So definitely, in comparison to linagliptin, evagliflozin has more improvement in HbA1c. Next. So when we compared these two molecules, around 68% of patients who are on evagliflozin, they achieve a HbA1c of less than 7%, and only 67.3% on linagliptin, they achieve a HbA1c level of less than 7%, and still lower HbA1c of less than 6.5% was achieved in a significant more percentage of patients who were on evagliflozin. In this study, they found that 44% achieved a HbA1c of less than 6.5%, and 36.5% of the patients they achieved less than 6.5% of HbA1c. So definitely, in both groups, evagliflozin was better in decreasing HbA1c when compared with linagliptin. Next. So when we go for the mean glycemic excursion, mean average glycemic excursion, we compared both molecules. It was the MAGE was significantly more in evagliflozin group. It was 24.6. When compared with linagliptin, it was 16.7. And when we consider the standard deviation of glucose, and we consider the CV in milligram per coefficient of variation in milligram per deciliter, it was also better in evagliflozin group when compared with linagliptin group. It was 9.76. The CV was 8.25 for linagliptin group. Next. So after 12 weeks, the two groups were given 5 milligram of linagliptin. So at 24 weeks, the group which was started evagliflozin and continued after 12 weeks with evagliflozin, they have achieved a better HbA1c. It was 0.94% in comparison to the group which was initially taken linagliptin and then switched over to evogliptin for another 12 weeks. At 24 weeks, the evogliptin plus evogliptin group has a better HbA1c control than the linagliptin plus evogliptin group at 24 weeks. Next. So in the evogliptin group, 80% of patient they have a HbA1c of less than 7% at 24 weeks, whereas it is 70.93% for and okay, the typical case of a glycemic profile, you can see at the baseline and at 24 weeks the mean average glycemic excursion has flattened significantly with evogliptin group. Next, so concluding, when evogliptin was orally administered for 12 weeks to type 2 diabetes patient, its effect on the change in HbA1c was proved to be non-inferior to linagliptin. In 24-week study, evogliptin is considered as a safe and effective anti-diabetic treatment for type 2 diabetes patients who have insufficient blood glucose control through exercise and diet therapy without any significant adverse event. Evogliptin administration also resulted in an improved glycemic variability, which is expected to be helpful in decreasing adverse CV event in the long term. Next. So about the safety part, they have studied for the renal dysfunction patients. The objective was to evaluate the pharmacokinetics and the tolerability of evogliptin in subject with renal impairment by comparing to those in subject with normal renal function. So they have taken the eGFR group, taking the MDRD formula. So normal is more than 90 ml per minute, mild is 60 to 90, moderate is 30 to 60 ml per minute, and in the severe group it is 15 to 30 ml per minute. So in that study they have found that the dose adjustment of evogliptin is not required in patients with renal dysfunction. The drug was found safe in all grade of kidney dysfunction, but they have no clinical experience of evogliptin in patients with the end-stage renal impairment requiring dialysis. Administration of evogliptin is not recommended in dialysis patient. Next. So about the safety of evogliptin in patient with the hepatic impairment, they have studied to see the PK characteristic and safety of evogliptin in patient with mild or moderate hepatic impairment compared with the healthy volunteer. So this was an open label parallel group and multi-center single dosing. Evogliptin 5 mg was given to them. They have seen the primary PK parameters and the secondary pharmacokinetic parameters. Also, they have seen the adverse events, vital signs, physical examination, ECG, and clinical laboratory test. Next. So I have excluded some patients and enrolled 24 patients. They received the study drug, and at the end of the study, the dose and administration adjustment was not needed in patient with mild to moderate hepatic impairment. So in mild to moderate hepatic impairment, you can give evogliptin safely. Although evogliptin exposure has increased in patient with moderate hepatic impairment, the increase is unlikely to adversely affect safety and efficacy based on the exposure response data accumulated in the previous clinical studies. Next. So about the combination of evogliptin and metformin. Next. So the DCGI has approved this molecule. This is the approval certificate of evogliptin plus metformin. Also, the various countries, they have combination have approved, including the countries like South Korea, China, South Africa, Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and India also. Next. So the evidence of efficacy and safety of this combination therapy of evogliptin and metformin, they have seen in different studies. They have taken in one study, they have seen the safety and efficacy of evogliptin versus sitagliptin for metformin treated patient. It was a 24-week randomized controlled trial. And in second study, they have seen the efficacy and safety of evogliptin versus sitagliptin as an add-on therapy in Indian patients. It was the 24-week evaluation India study. They have taken around 184 patients. In another RCT, which is in phase 3 clinical trial, it investigated the efficacy and safety of evogliptin when added to ongoing metformin monotherapy in patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus who have inadequately glycemic control. It was done in Russia and South Korea. Also, in another study, the pharmacokinetic of evogliptin metformin 5 plus 1000 sustained release metformin fixed dose combination prepared to the corresponding loose combination compared to the loose combination and effect of food in a healthy subject. In another study, they have tried to see the interaction between metformin and evogliptin in healthy subject. These are the different studies they are going on, and some are in process. Next. So in a Korean study, they have found the evogliptin 5 milligram when added to metformin 1000 milligram. They have seen the improved glycemic control and well tolerability in subject with type 2 diabetes mellitus, and they have seen it is non-inferior to sitagliptin also. It was compared with sitagliptin. Next. So in Indian studies, they have seen the safety and efficacy of evogliptin versus sitagliptin as an add-on therapy in Indian patient with type 2 diabetes mellitus. Those who are inadequately controlled with metformin, it was a 24-week study. The name was Evolution India. In this study, they have seen that evogliptin 5 milligram was as effective, safe, and non-inferior to sitagliptin as an add-on therapy to metformin 1000 milligram in Indian type 2 diabetes mellitus. So this study, which is a multinational global study, evogliptin phase 3 study. It is a randomized study, phase 3 clinical trial to investigate the efficacy and safety of evogliptin when added to ongoing metformin monotherapy in patients, type 2 diabetes patients who have inadequate glycemic control. So next. So when added to metformin, when taken in a dose of more than 1 gram, evogliptin demonstrated non-inferiority compared to sitagliptin in terms of HbA1c reduction at 24 weeks. So the pharmacokinetics of the fixed dose combination of evogliptin and metformin, And they have seen that the geometric mean ratio and 90% confidence interval of PK parameters for evogliflozin and metformin were 0.8 to 1.25, suggesting bioequivalent pharmacokinetics. The fixed dose evogliflozin 5 milligram and metformin 1 gram was well tolerated without any drug-related serious adverse event. Also, it can be administered with food which is recommended for metformin extended release. So, the fixed dose combination of Evomet 5 by 1000 can be substituted for loose combination, providing better compliance with the convenience of administration. Next. So, about the PK and PD interaction between metformin and evogliflozin in healthy subject, they have seen that this combination could provide therapeutic benefit without clinically significant pharmacokinetic interaction. They have not find any adverse pharmacokinetic interaction between this metformin and evogliflozin itself in the combination form. Next. So summarizing, it is truly once a day due to its longest half-life of 32.5 to 39.8 hours. So established renal, hepatic safety and CV safety without need of any dose titration. As per Evergreen study, which is a 24-week study, evogliflozin when compared with linagliptin, it has shown highest reduction in glycemic variability of 26.4 milligram per deciliter as compared to linagliptin of 16.7 milligram per deciliter, and HbA1c reduction was proven to be non-inferior to linagliptin. Also, with 3 head-to-head studies against sitagliptin, this evogliflozin, that is Valera, is also proven to be non-inferior versus sitagliptin, one of which is an Indian study, the Evolution India study. In the combination form of evogliflozin and metformin, it provides better compliance with convenient administration, a strong once daily dose rationale compared to immediate release formulation. Next. So, thank you for your patient hearing.
Sir, I would like to ask Dr. Raut Roy maybe to
I
take
think
the
we'll-
presentation on.
We'll complete the presentation. After that, we'll have discussion.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thanks, Devarchan, for the excellent presentation. Coming to the, just I'll say 1 minute. As we all know, why the CBOT trials came, because it was seen by strict control of blood sugar, in microvascular complications were reduced, but macrovascular complications did not. That's why they thought, what is the problem? So it was at that time thought maybe associated control of hypertension and lipid profile is also required. In the meantime, rosiglitazone showed that chance of myocardial infarction is more. After that, FDA became strict because these are chronic molecules. So whatever newer molecule will come, they will have to pass through FDA CBOT trial, FDA approved CBOT trial. And it has been seen, many of the DPP-4 inhibitors have passed the CBOT trials, particularly your sitagliptin, linagliptin. Though vildagliptin is widely prescribed, real world data is very much common, but it has not passed through FDA. So also teneligliptin, though it is very much prescribed. What as you can say, all gliptins are mostly safe. So from that, because one of the two important things is safety and efficacy. This is efficacious and safe. Coming to the long-term safety, that is safety regarding the cardiac safety, usually from CVOT trials. Though there are CVOT trials regarding other gliptins, evogliptin is in the horizon. Maybe we will get large CVOT trials, but this is a study which shows the cardiovascular risk in patients treated with evogliptin in type 2 diabetes mellitus, a nationwide population-based cohort study. This is a real-world data, retrospective observational study, where they have taken large number of patients. You see, in this study, this is the objective was to evaluate the association between the evogliptin use and the risk of cardiovascular disease when compared to other second-line anti-diabetic treatment, taking into account at that time when patients are included, your metformin was the only drug which was first line, all others were second line. They compared all the second line drugs. But this large study, because they're comparing so many things, I thought they should have compared only DPP-4 inhibitors. Anyway, to assess whether the use of second line DPP-4 inhibitors or SGLT2 inhibitors after metformin monotherapy is associated with an increased CVD risk in patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus compared with use of second line glimepiride after metformin monotherapy. To assess whether the use of individual second line gliptins like evogliptin, sitagliptin, linagliptin, emmigliptin, dapagliflozin, gliflozins like Ecladapa, EMPA, and this ipragliflozin after metformin monotherapy is associated with an increased CVD risk in patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus compared with the use of second line glimepiride after metformin monotherapy. So, the exploratory objective was to describe the demographic and the clinical characteristics of the patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus treated with glimepiride or DPP-4 inhibitor or SGLT2 inhibitor as second line after metformin. So, with this background, they selected the patients what happens? My slides are not advancing. Can you change from that place?
Dr. Sir has, I think the sir has logged out, so he will rejoin soon.
I think we have some connection issues. I think please bear with us. Doctor will be there shortly.
Yes, yes. Sir has just, I have talked with Dr. Yasin Rautra. Sir is coming, rejoining soon. So please bear with us.
I think we are facing some technical difficulty. Bear with us. We will be there shortly. Just bear with us.
Pradyumna,
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Is it audible now?
Yes, yes, sir.
You're audible.
So I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
there was a disconnection.
So the data source is from Health Insurance Review and Assessment of Services. So from the Health Insurance Group, they have included the data from January 2014 to 31st December 2018. The database included age, sex, diagnosis, ambulatory care utilization at clinics and or hospital, hospitalization, visit dates, etc. And the sample size, this is very important. The using two-sided 0.05 significance level, 37,000 evoglip, 37,000 patients required. So evogliptin out of them is 1206. Comparator is 35,808. Are required to test the study hypothesis on the association between the evogliptin use and CBD risk with 80% power. The sample size calculation. The expected relative risk for CBD risk among DPP-4 inhibitors users was kept at 0.87 with 95% confidence interval. As our study included 2,946 patients who received evogliptin, the estimated study size had enough power to test our hypothesis as association between the evogliptin and use of cardiovascular event risk. So study design is a retrospective observational cohort study using Health Insurance Review and Assessment Services longitudinal database from South Korea. The data used in patients from type 2 diabetes mellitus were newly initial on metformin monotherapy between 1st January 2015 to 2016 December, and those aged more than equal to 20 years as the baseline cohort. Compare DPP-4 inhibitor or SGLT2 inhibitors versus glimepiride. Here, if you see this compared with the individuals, DPP-4 inhibitors like sitagliptin, linagliptin, gemcitabine, and evogliptin, and SGLT2 inhibitors like DAPA, EMPA, and epagliflozin versus glimepiride between 1st March 2016 31st December 2018. So total of 30,64,197 patients diagnosed with diabetes mellitus and also prescribed metformin. However, the base cohort included 3,17,307 diabetes. So this users of glimepiride, 2.94%, that 2,946 were users of evogliptin among DPP-4 inhibitors users. This is a study design, but I think we should proceed to the results. This is a overcome assessment is any hospitalization or emergency department visit for cardiovascular disease with a primary or secondary diagnosis of the following, like myocardial infarction, heart failure, angina pectoris, transient ischemic attacks, cerebrovascular disease, any procedure involving coronary bypass graft or PCI. Coming to the results, the cardiovascular disease risk of type 2 diabetes treated with DPP-4 SGLT inhibitor compared with glimepiride, you see the upper one is glimepiride, number of patients were 28,750, where DPP-4 inhibitors about 1 lakh population and SGLT2 inhibitors about 10,000. And out of this, it was seen the DPP-4 inhibitors as this incidence was 21.8, whereas this p value is significant. So compared with the glimepiride, DPP-4 inhibitor users, evogliptin included, were associated with a decreased risk of cardiovascular disease. Incidence was 21.89 versus 24.33 for 1,000 person year. While SGLT2 inhibitors users had a null association, there is no increase or no decrease. However, when comparing individual DPP-4 inhibitors, it was seen sitagliptin, linagliptin, this evogliptin. It was found
I think we can stop here, Dr. Rautre. Hello. I don't know whether am I audible? Devarchan, am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir. Sir has some problem with the connection.
Okay. Okay. In the first place, what was the need of another class of agents to treat diabetes? Many doctors used to ask me, what is the need of another class of agent? So many confusing drugs are coming. Well, definitely this was expected that the newer drugs will give some advantage over the available drugs. Now, this group of drugs, DPP-4 inhibitors and its siblings, the GLP-1 analogs, were introduced to address some other issues in diabetes management. Now, these drugs are very potent drugs. Even though these drugs are dependent on insulin, but still these drugs are glucose dependent. That's why that means when glucose is high, these drugs will work. Hence, the action automatically stops when the glucose level comes down. And there is very less chance of hypoglycemia. And it was expected like GLP-1 analogs, these drugs will provide will address some cardiac safety issues. Same things were seen with liraglutide and semaglutide. But very few DPP-4 inhibitors are really associated with significant cardiovascular benefits. Of course, drugs like some drugs in this class, like sitagliptin, they are associated, they are non-inferior, but they have not shown any superiority as far as cardiovascular effects are concerned. So it was expected that newer drugs will address this issue. Moreover, these drugs are newer drugs where there will be less chance of side effects like pancreatitis, like cutaneous manifestations, joint issues, which are linked to other DPP-4 enzymes like DPP-4/8 or DPP-4/9. Plus, these drugs should be capable of reducing other complications like renal complications. Now, in this background, this evogliptin was introduced, and it was found that this drug is really effective, not only as monotherapy, but also in combination with metformin. And on head-to-head trials with potent drugs like sitagliptin and linagliptin, this drug, evogliptin, has shown its value. Now, but as far as cardiovascular effects are concerned, surprisingly, evogliptin has also shown significant cardiovascular benefits in comparison to SGLT. Now, in this background, I would like to ask Professor Rautrai,
Yes.
because he has attended many sessions. Now, we have discussed this point very much, that the SGLT2 drugs have significant cardiovascular benefits in most of the major trials, like EMPA-REGA outcome trial or DAPA heart failure,
Yes.
DAPA heart failure.
DAPA heart failure, not the DAPA main trial. So we have the CANVAS trial. Everywhere, the SGLT2 drugs have shown significant cardiovascular benefits. So it comes as a surprise. How come here in Korea, they have not found in such significant benefits to the SGLT2? But one thing is certain, that evogliptin has shown significant cardiovascular benefits. I would like to have the opinion of Dr. Rautrai on this point.
Yes, coming to this point, it is very difficult to believe this, number one, because they have to show this in a large randomized double-blind controlled trial. This is a retrospective analysis of observational study. But even in that, actually what happened, they taken into individual this myocardial infarction and this heart failure, all these things were at par, I mean null. That is neither more nor less. Though in total, they have shown cardiovascular, probably I think this TIA and CV stroke were less. But when this individual analysis, MI and they were not, I mean not less. So you can say this is a cardiovascularly not inferior. We can say not inferior as like other drugs like your sitagliptin and linagliptin, is non-inferior. But you cannot say it is better than sitagliptin, like GLT, GLT inhibitors. It is very difficult to say that. But this finding is really difficult, surprising. This randomized control trials are required.
None of the major members of this group, like Sita or linagliptin, they are associated with such type of significant benefit. Anyway, let us hope for more trials. Now, I will invite Dr. Behera, and I'd like to have his opinion where to place this drug in the algorithm of treatment of diabetes.
Thank you, sir. Sir, initially, everybody, that means AD or European Association, all are advocating metformin, and this is the metformin will be the first line drug for me. But if it is failing, that means if it is not achieving the HbA1c target which was fixed for a person, and by 3 to 4 months, if it is not achieving, and the level of control for both fasting as well as PPG is moderately high, then I will like to add the these sort of drugs like DPP4 inhibitors that has more of fasting as well as PPG control, that will likely to achieve my HbA1c target that is personalized or the tailored for the individual. In that scenario, I will like to add. And also, when the weight is if a person is moderately obese, or if it is already patient is obese, and we do not want to put much of weight with glimepiride, and in that scenario, as it is a DPP4 inhibitors are weight neutral, I will like to in that scenario. And among the DPP4 inhibitors, the linagliptin is it is renal safe. And if the patient is having some sort of renal complications in the early to detect with type 2 diabetes, then it will be used. Or sitagliptin, if it is overall having some sort of cardiovascular abnormality or associated CV risk is there, I would like to add sitagliptin. But as far as evogliptin is concerned, it is very early to say about whether it will be placed, because it has claiming to be reducing the glycemic excursions or the variability, and it will be controlling the HbA1c, and thereby producing lot of effects, and it will be it has been shown with some studies that it has pleiotropic effect, but I would like to wait for studies to establish it thoroughly before prescribing this evogliptin in these sort of patients. Thank you, sir.
That's okay. So you want to keep it as a second line drug.
Yes, sir.
But Dr. Jena has shown studies where these drugs have been used as monotherapy as a first line drug. What is your take on that?
Sir, as far as
I mean,
first line is concerned,
not secondary to metformin.
yes, sir. As far as the as a first line drug, the DPP4 inhibitors can be given, but evogliptin, if you ask me for evogliptin, then studies are there to say it is the reduction of fasting as well as the variability, the amplitude of the maze, whatever they are saying, it is there. But as a fast line in the Indian scenario, where it is very cheaper and well trusted drug, metformin is there, I would like to prescribe metformin as fast line over DPP4. Though it has the efficacy as stated by Devartan, it is efficacious and it is reducing the variability of glucose and also benefiting some benefit of complications, the reduction of complications, whatever studies have shown. But still, I will go for metformin in the fast line.
Probably they have used it in situations where metformin is relatively contraindicated or not well tolerated. I don't know what are the situations where they use this drug as a first line drug. Anyway, the point is well taken. Now I will invite any questions from the participants, because I have been told there are quite good number of participants in this program. So if there is any question from any participant, I will welcome them, or any clarification or any comment from any participants.
There are actually two questions which have just come in. One doctor is asking about how do you place evogliptin when compared to vildagliptin? That is question number one. Secondly, what is the effect of evogliptin on albuminuria in patients with type 2 diabetes and renal insufficiency?
Okay, I will request Dr. Devarchan Jena to take up these two questions. First question is evogliptin versus vildagliptin. What is your take on that?
We are using vildagliptin for a long time, since it was started in 2008, and it is quite efficacious, though it is not approved by the American Association. But in India, we are using it rampantly. So when we compare vildagliptin versus linagliptin, it is comparatively a newer molecule. Still, some studies are going on in different countries. But in my view, I am using this molecule for last 1 year. I have given more than 50 to 100 patients. I have found beautiful result in the form of glycemic control, HbA1c reduction, and overall glycemic achievement was better. So I am comfortable with this evagliptin. I am using it. I have prescribed it in many patients also, I can say. So you have many options among the DP4 inhibitors, other molecules which have established CV profile. They are also there. So you can consider a newer molecule having a beauty of you can start from the very beginning as a monotherapy. You can add on to as a second line, third line, even fourth line. If your patient is on a glimepiride, voglibos, metformin, still not controlled, you can even at a fourth line, you can start a Valerian. So you can see the effect. I have achieved glycemic control using this molecule during this 1 year at least. And also they are advocating its use in a renally compromised patient, except in the case of dialysis patient. So it is a molecule which can be used as a standard DP4 inhibitor from beginning of the from the diagnosis of the patient to the towards the end of the patient. So it can consider, but other options are there also.
I think
So the
another
another
point here
question
we can
was
discuss is
effect
that
of evogliptin
Vilda
on
is given
albuminuria.
twice a day, and
Yeah.
Evo is
This is
given
once
once a day.
daily, and Bilda has in vivid trial. They have seen that it has
Some
enlarged
action on
uh,
the cardiac
cardiac
ejection.
cardiac. They have found the enlargement of cardiac chambers, ventricular enlargement.
But
Also, they have
that is not very
some
significant because
Yeah.
that is not very significant. That is more
uh,
for theoretical sake. We have been using Vilda for quite some time. But
sir, Rautra sir can
Yeah, yeah.
say better
And,
about Vildagliptin.
when I am telling my experience, I have used a large number of patients with vildagliptin and also quite a good number of patients with evogliptin. But one thing is be sure, this is once daily, and this glycemic control, what I find is better because sometimes even if we prescribe twice daily this vildagliptin, many people take once. Even some doctors prescribe once. But when you give this one, this is once daily, definitely you are getting a good coverage and good half-life. So that is definitely better glycemic control have been achieved. Regarding the cardiovascular safety, these are very few reports in small study regarding the LV dilatation that we cannot take into. This is not a large study report. But at the same time, similarly, you see teneligliptin, this QT prolongation, all these things. But in spite of that, because one is cost factor is one, and once daily, twice daily, the definite the compliance is better with a once daily drug. So this compliance will be better with evogliptin, and the cost is also compared to twice daily Vilda. This cost will be less, and glycemic control will be better. And one thing it has been proved to be safe because in this observational study you can say it is safe. We cannot claim that is better than SGLT2 inhibitors, but it can safe. We can say it is safe. And those comparing with other gliptins, they are small study, but it is very. But they have at least ventured to compare with linagliptin. That is one thing because one of the molecule which is definitely proved. Because other gliptins they are not going to compare head on trials. But that is a good, even if small number, that has been proved to be efficacious. This efficacious and safe, and compliance will be better. And whatever patients I have given, I have achieved good control of sugar, glycemic control of sugar. Regarding glycemic variability, that is the important factor. That is again a very small study that have shown this glycemic variability also less.
the second question is on the
So the
effect of
second question
evogliptin
was,
on albuminuria.
yeah,
Dr. Jana,
effect of
can you comment?
evogliptin on albuminuria in patients with type 2 diabetes and renal insufficiency.
Could you hear us, Dr. Jana? think Dr. Jana is having some audio problem. Dr. Behra, can you please take up this question?
Yes, sir. In whatever I was seeing by showing by the Devatama has shown that in one study the as the evogliptin was compared with lina, and it was seen to be at par with lina during this reduction of albuminuria or the progression of albuminuria during the treatment. And from that study, if we will tell them that then it is at par with lina. For reduction of albuminuria or the halting of progression of albuminuria in renal failure patients. That is one study, but more studies has to be there to claim the efficacy of the newer drug. I hope the study will come in future.
So going forward, sir, we have one more study which is going on ESRD patients. So that is hopefully within some time we will be getting the results.
One point here is that we should understand one thing, that whether one drug is safe in kidney failure or not. Now, as far as the preliminary reports are concerned, evogliptin is a good drug in this setting. It can be given in most of the degrees of renal impairment, excepting ESRD or patients requiring dialysis. That's number one. Number two, if you are asking whether this drug can have renal beneficial effect, like what we got in SGLT2 with SGLT2 drugs, well, I don't think we have significant studies in that. One thing is certain, that once the glycemia is controlled by any means, the albuminuria falls. And same thing also seen with the blood pressure. Same thing is seen with SE inhibitors or angiotensin receptor blockers. So these drugs are good drugs in a setting of renal failure, because in a renal failure setting, we were not we were afraid of using OHS because of hypoglycemia, because of lactic acidosis, because of so many factors. Well, these issues are not here, but whether these drugs can have renal benefits, we'll have to wait and see. Is there any other question?
So there is one more question.
Yeah.
The doctor is asking a female patient with EGFR of 29 and creatinine clearance of 2.3. So 2.3. So what is can evogliptin can be prescribed?
Well, I think with such a EGFR less than 30, I think insulin is a better choice in this.
Yeah, I have one question. So you see, I want to know, because in which situation we will start a first, patient first diagnosed with diabetes with monotherapy, gliptin as monotherapy.
Well, we just asked this question to Dr. Behra. Well, one thing is, in most of the situations, metformin is supposed to be the faster. But when there are situations where metformin cannot be given because it may not be tolerated, or because there are other issues like renal problems, well, there it is better you can go over for other drugs. Other drugs means either DPP4 or SGLT2 drugs as one of the primary agent. The algorithms have changed by this time. Any other question?
So thank you very much for the questions. These were some of the questions which have been asked. Now, in this particular regards, I would like to ask Mr. Pradyuman to just give that vote of thanks to all the moderator speakers as well as the audience. Over to you, Pradyuman. I think Pradyuman is not available. Maybe Mr. Sanjeev sir, are you there?
I think he's also
I
not
think,
there.
I
You
think,
have
sir,
to go to the
it was a great evening. I think on the Sunday evening, all of you, sir, attending this particular meeting, sir. Thank you, Dr. S.R. Patnaik, sir, Dr. Subhash Behra, sir, and Raut Roy, sir. We could not connect with him. But then overall, sir, this was a very good session. Your discussions were so lucid. We have made the entire topic very easy for the audience. The audience also loved it. There are around 4-5 questions which just came. Some of them were answered before, some of them I asked. So overall, it was a very good session. And this COVID time, sir, I think Alchem is there with you all, sir. We are making our products always available, and we are all there with you, sir. So thank you very much for attending tonight, sir. And from Alchem, sir, we say thank you very much. And we have our Valera with us, Valera as well as Valera M. Both the brands are available across India. Valera M is just launched with the metformin in extended release formulation. So I think you have been great help for us. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, sir.